drugs, weapons, alcohol. It's our job to go out and find the illicit items.
Just a horrible place. It's overrun by drugs. It's getting worse, to be honest.
A prison system already struggling, being shaken to its core by drugs.
Prisoners are coming in with drugs, ready to start their own business. We've got people throwing things over the wall, there's drones, staff. It's just relentless.
As we go behind the gates of one prison, a damning assessment from the prison watchdog of a system losing control. Today's report from the Chief Inspector paints a picture of a prison estate overwhelmed by drugs, driven by organised crime. He says drugs are undermining every aspect of prison life. And as the flood of drugs rises, so too, he says, does the violence, with 7 murders in a single year.
We've seen a rise in violence.
We've been given exclusive access to HMP Home House in Stockton-on-Tees, a prison on the front line of this crisis. Kate Duncan is a governor here, determined to make a difference.
My job is reduce and reoffending lead. I'm in charge of the activities in the industry, so we're trying to prep prisoners here, so then when they get out, they stay out of prison.
She believes in rehabilitation, that the core purpose of prison is creating a pathway to a second chance.
So this is the laundry where prisoners work, and it works like a production line, so we've got folding, and it just really gives the prisoners a sense of purpose. Some of them love working down here.
But making rehabilitation a reality is becoming harder. Home House was a so-called Category C prison, its very purpose training and preparing prisoners for release. But last year that changed. It must now take in remand prisoners too. It's a move designed to ease pressure on other more troubled jails, but has simply pushed more problems their way.
So I would say a rise in drug misuse, and with that you get a rise in assaults on prisoners, prisoner-on-prisoner assaults with debt. You've got a rise in staff assaults, which nobody wants to come to work to go home to the families to say they've been assaulted. We've seen a rise of self-harm because prisoners just can't cope at the minute. Where the families go, and this is
While drugs are not a new problem, the prison is learning the new ways some offenders are operating and the terrible consequences which can ripple throughout the jail.
With us being a remand jail now, we do get a lot of them coming straight from recall, so they're deliberately getting themselves recalled to bring packages secreted internally back into the prison. They're getting paid to do it, thousands of pounds sometimes to bring it back in.
So you think there's a market operating where they are essentially being paid to get recalled to prison?
Yep, or they're also being pressured and bullied into it as well. So it's not just being paid for it, they're being bullied. So to pay off their debts with other dealers, they're then having to bring stuff in when they're getting recalled.
And so that debt adds to corruption, adds to violence, would you say?
It does, yep.
For prisoners like Mason, hoping to turn his life around, the jail's drug problem creates a very personal problem for him. He knows staying away is the only way he can rebuild his life after prison. But it's not easy when they're everywhere.
It's overrun by drugs. It's getting worse, to be honest. In my past sentences, don't get me wrong, I have took it, but this time I'm staying away from it all. People do different things to get it because they can't afford it. People are paying them to go and hit someone, and they go do it straight away just to get what they want. Obviously, it's bad, but I suppose drugs are never going to stop in jail, never.
The influx of drugs is impacting the entire system. Assaults on staff have risen by 13% across the country. Home House is no exception.
The more incidents we're involved in, the more...
Attacks on officers are a growing concern. Mark Hesseltine is a staff mentor here.
It's tough, it's scary, it's hard when we've all got families to go home to. Nobody wants to end up being subject to these assaults. That's not what we come here for. We try and limit that risk as best we can, but unfortunately we deal with some of the most volatile and dangerous people in the country, so naturally these things do happen.
Is there a moment when an officer, a young officer or an inexperienced officer will come in and think, what have I done? And how do you talk them out of leaving?
We've all done that. I did it for my first 3 months. Didn't know why I was here. It was very difficult, and Now, through the work that I've been doing with our new staff, we don't seem to have that issue anymore. A lot of the staff do feel supported. They know who they can speak to if they do have issues, and generally, most of the new staff that have come through the doors have been good and have stayed, and they're still here today.
But even when staff do stay, the vital work of rehabilitation is being swamped by other more pressing demands. With less time to work closely with prisoners.
I'm Jackie.
Matthew says there just isn't enough help. His silver lining? Ending up in jail at a time the government is keen to let some offenders out early.
What do you think of the early release scheme?
Oh, it's sound. Best time to go to jail. Get out early. The rehabilitation side of it, I don't think it's going to work. It works at all, to be honest.
So you're going to have to bank on yourself not coming back?
Yeah, it all depends on your lifestyle, what you want to do with yourself. But obviously, it's a lot easier to make money illegally. It's a lot quicker.
And money, or the lack of it, is a problem for the prison itself. With additional pressure impacting its ability to work with prisoners on the inside, cuts to its budget as they make their way out are also a real concern.
What do you need as a governor to make this work better?
It's a really hard question. Probably the resources. So, for instance, we've got the discharge lounge. So when a prisoner gets released, they visit the discharge lounge, and there was funding available, so prisoners could go out, they could have a cup of tea, they could sit down, they could find out where they were going to go, they'd get a mobile phone, because if prisoners have been in for life, they don't have any of that, and it's support for when they get out. We've had that funding taken away now, and that's going to be something that's going to really impact prisoners on release.
But long term, how hopeful are you that things get better in the system?
So I wouldn't be standing here today if I wasn't hopeful.
The government's living in hope too. In a statement, it said, "We are ending the chaos, investing £40 million to bolster security and working to combat drones." But will it be enough to crack down on a sophisticated drug economy run by criminals that seems right now to be outflanking the system?
Well, what we found in Home House Prison was a microcosm of what's happening across the system, as detailed in the Chief Inspector's report today. A drugs economy so woven into the system now, the extraordinary vision of prisoners being offered a menu of drugs in some jails. What do you want? Cocaine, spice, steroids? Put your order in. The government says it is ending the chaos it inherited from the last government. But can it? Earlier, I spoke to the Prisons, Probation and Reducing Reoffending Minister, Lord Timpson, and I began by asking him for his reaction to the Chief Inspector's report.
The Inspector's report clearly shows the crisis we've inherited, with prisons running out of space. So the first thing we had to do was to make sure we didn't run out of space at all and the criminal justice system completely collapse. And that's why the plans we put in place will work. It's building new prisons, it's reforming the way prisons work, it's investing in technology, investing in probation. But we need to do that to avert the problems we've got.
But it's not happening right now, is it? Prisoners, he said, are almost presented with a menu of drugs, and that is inside prison. Steroids, spice, cocaine, take your pick. I mean, it's utter madness, isn't it?
The crisis we inherited means there are far too many drugs in prisons. So that's why we need to invest in more technology. We've got 40 million to invest in new technology to stop drugs coming in. But we also need to think about that half the people who go into prison are addicted to drugs. We lock them up in prisons with serious organised criminals who make money out of selling drugs. So that's why we have the big problem we have.
I mean, this report suggests that the prison service, the government, are being outflanked by those serious organised criminals.
I don't think we're being outflanked, but we are really in a battle to make sure that that our prisons are safe, and we need to do more, and we are doing more to keep the drugs out. But you're right, it is a battle we're in.
You are not winning that battle, though. You have to concede that on the basis of what the inspector has found. You have 30% positive drug tests. In some prisons, it was 60%.
Yep.
You have staff, prisoner assaults rising. You have prisoner assaults on staff rising. There have been 7 murders. It is chaos.
In certain prisons, there are significant problems, and those significant problems directly linked to the large amount of drugs coming in. There are also a lot of other prisons that are doing incredibly well, that are far more stable, there's less violence. But this just comes back to the crisis we inherited. I've been going around prisons for over 20 years, and whether it's employing people from prison and so on. And when we came into this building a year ago, I've never known it so bad.
We've been in Home House in Stockton-on-Tees. It is a perfect illustration of all the problems that are in this report today. They say that they've had, because of the change in population, they've had a significant rise in all of those problems, a significant rise in drugs. The drugs is fueling violence. One of the governors told us prisoners are coming in to start their own drug business inside. I mean, it's astonishing, isn't it?
Well, this is where it comes to serious organised crime and the problems that they have a ready market.
And that's what I say, they're
prisons.
outflanking you, aren't they?
Well, we've invested a huge amount recently in X-ray scanners, more security, counter corruption, and so on. Yes, there's more that we need to do, but also we need to come back to the point of why are people taking drugs in prison? They're taking drugs because they're addicted. We need to deal with that. Because they've got nothing to do, so that's why we have more personal activity, education, and what they need is an opportunity to turn their lives around.
The Chief Inspector says today, I mean, it is a call to action to the government because he doesn't think you are doing enough and he doesn't think that the government have got a grip on this.
What is required is a plan to fix it. Rather than short-term fixes, I'm interested in long-term fixes.
You've been here a year. I mean, how soon? What's your timetable for seeing real change on this?
Last week was the first time that I've been to a prison and seen so many of the things that I've been started a year ago actually starting to happen. Building more prisons is a really important part of that, and investing 700 million in probation and technology will really help as well. But these are big problems that need fixing, and they are all fixable, and we're getting there.
Lord Timpson, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.